Connecticut Voice Out Loud is proudly sponsored by Middlesex Health and Foxwoods Resort Casino.
Hey, I'm Pat Laurie. Happy Pride Month from the Yard Goats game in Hartford, Connecticut.
I have very loved people in the community, and I support any initiative that allows people to be who they are and embrace life the way they are. Happy Pride Month. People are people. Love one, love all.
The longest-running LGBTQ-themed radio program in America is produced in Hartford. Keith Brown has been hosting Gay Spirit Radio every week for more than 40 years. Keith's dedication to the community is the subject of a new documentary. Our Dawn Ennis talked with the host and filmmakers who chronicled what Keith calls the truth about our lives for a change.
Pat, I'm here on the campus of the University of Hartford, and it's here that Keith Brown has been talking about and making LGBTQ history on the radio. And it's here that a member of the class of 22 crossed paths with a longtime radio host and decided to tell his story and that of our community.
Good evening. This is Gay Spirit, a program for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans community of the greater Hartford area.
Yes, I'm starting a new project called F. Adams Studios.
It's amazing when you think about 42 years of never missing a radio show every Thursday night. And I think oftentimes he's getting on a bicycle and trudging through whatever it is that's getting in his way to go from the West End over to this campus. That in itself, he's I'd say, an unsung hero of our community.
It started with a class we were doing. It's a field production class, and I had everyone go to the archivist and bring the archivist to class, our archivist, John Park, who works in the building behind me here. And everyone had to pick an area that they wanted to create a short-form documentary in. And one of the areas was diversity, equity, and inclusion. And Sean happened to mention, well, you guys should look at Gay Spirit Radio. And Kyle Conti, my teaching assistant, and I were like, what? What's Gay Spirit Radio? And he said it's the longest running radio show in America, and it happens to be taped right downstairs. And the same person has been at the helm since the beginning, and he is right downstairs. So Kyle needed to do his thesis project, and we thought, what a great way to bring this story to life and, you know, take care of Kyle's thesis and tell everybody about Gay Spirit Radio.
In the 40 plus years he's been doing the show, he hasn't missed a single show when he has either walked or bicycled to the station from his apartment in Hartford, 3 or 4 miles easily. There have been snowstorms when other volunteers either canceled or came in on snowshoes that Keith made it in on his own. The show must go on.
In the film, you'll see the bike wheel kind of spin around and then turn into that reel-to-reel framing, and I thought that this would be kind of a wheel of change, a marker of change that Keith has made in the community. So I think that having that wheel there is just a great marker, and it shows that Keith is just one piece in that puzzle of how the LGBTQ community can kind of get together and be together.
While I am not broke, I am poor and have lived at a certain level below that of normal upper middle class people for the course of my life. If I owned and maintained a car, I would be automobile broke. You don't have to spend any money on gas, high prices for gasoline.
$5 a gallon now.
Yeah, that's what it is now, right? Yeah.
And would you say that you have a message for people who drive cars when they see you on the road?
I can't say it.
The amount of the story's significance on this campus was just amazing, and not being heard is something that we want to bring to light. So I think that it was I think that it was a great find that we were able to get this because no one knows about it, and now hopefully a lot of people at UHeart and the community will learn about it as well.
On the Thanksgiving Thursday of 1980, and it is from that point that I date the beginning of the show. Rob Meehan produced and edited on reel-to-reel tape the first few shows that came thereafter. And then before Christmas, he gathered the members of the Gay Spirit Radio Collective together in the Air Studio, which was in Gingras Campus Center on the second floor at that time. And we started to do the show live.
The community response to Gay Spirit has been just incredible over the last 4 decades. We've only had a handful of complaints, and they were really cranks. They were people that just were total homophobes, that no matter how good or bad the show was, they wouldn't have liked it anyways. But the response overall is overwhelmingly positive.
Here in Connecticut, it was still a backwater in some ways for queer people. And that sense of isolation and of being alone was still very prevalent in this state. Keith's inimitable voice, they knew that there was a lifeline out there, that there was a community out there, and they could get information.
It was definitely keeping us in the know of what was going around the community, especially around the early 80s. Been getting of the AIDS crisis and knowing about all these new gay prides that were popping up around the state, and getting to know who was in the community that was making a difference.
Let folks know of maybe a tragedy, get information out about a previous pandemic like the HIV and AIDS virus.
Some of my friends who came out of the closet were kicked out of their homes and living on the street and living in their cars.
I remember during the AIDS crisis, which was devastating the state. We were a little bit later than the big cities, but when it hit us hard. Our friends were dying everywhere. And so we did our best at Metroline to get the information out. But in many ways, Gay Spirit Radio reached more people because they were reaching people who weren't comfortable going out to the bars and picking up Metroline. So Gay Spirit went into the homes of people who were isolated and closeted. And it was a lifesaver because these people weren't getting information about how to protect themselves from AIDS.
But Gay Spirit Radio, once it got its start, went on the air continuously without interruption from from Thanksgiving of 1980 forward, every single week without fail.
It is a place to tell our story for a change. And I believe that's similar to the motto that the Gay Spirit Radio lives by. Because again, it was that space that people could come and just really speak their truths. And you heard that from various groups of folks, whether that was social justice advocates, elected leaders, artists, and so many other people around the community to be able to come and just share that story on air and really broadcast that out for folks to hear that message and understand that there were folks who were willing to step up and take that fight on to be able to better support those at home who may not be able to have taken that bold step forward.
Conti's film is the centerpiece of the 35th annual Connecticut LGBTQ Film Festival. It'll make its premiere at Cinestudio, and then you can view it online. In West Hartford, I'm Dawn Ennis for Connecticut Voice Out Loud.
Brown and the producer of Gay Spirit Radio are working to digitize the program's archives for future generations to enjoy. They still have 8 years to go.
Hey, I'm Kyone Wolf.
I'm Dennis House. You're invited to an unforgettable evening. The inaugural Connecticut Voice Honors will be held at Foxwoods Resort Casino.
This gala pays tribute to everybody who supported the LGBTQ+ community and made Connecticut a wonderful place for us to live and work.
The Connecticut Voice Honors will be held on Saturday, September 17th, and the primetime television special on WTNH will air on October 15th, with highlights and a presentation of the evening.
I'm not going anywhere. You kidding? There's work to be done. Goats don't milk themselves, you know. When I had cancer, people said I'd have to travel long distances for care. Not me. I'm not going anywhere.
Cancer patients are getting groundbreaking treatment at Middlesex Health and second opinions from Mayo Clinic experts close to home.
Look at that. Nice work, girls.
You're watching Connecticut Voice Out Loud.
To some people, it's a sin. To some people, it's a crime. And these are just people that are living their authentic selves. And Pride Month is a celebration of that. Pride Month is a celebration of our authentic selves. And I'm thankful that, I'm thankful for the Stonewall riots. I'm thankful for the people who have advocated for gay rights. I mean, in 2022, I can absolutely marry my partner without limitations. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to be seen on an even playing field, so to speak, that the gay community is being recognized as people too, because that's all we ever want to be, is recognized as people. That's all we are. People trying to love who we love and live how we want to live, and be able to not be shunned or judged for who we are.
Having a voice that matches a person's appearance is very important, especially when transitioning. Amy Carlberg is a speech therapist at Middlesex Health. She joins us today to talk about this topic and how she can help people who are going through the change become more comfortable. Amy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Pat. I'm happy to be here.
So tell me, what is it like for someone going through a transition? How does the voice come into play?
So a lot of my patients tell me that that's one of the biggest factors in their transition, because ultimately they might end up transitioning with their appearance, and they might look a certain way, but then a lot of patients will tell me that their voice kind of outs them, right? So as soon as people hear them start talking, they realize right away that they're transgender, which can be a really uncomfortable experience for people. So my goal is that everyone feels more comfortable with their voice through working with them.
So tell me then, you're saying vocal surgery isn't necessary in all cases, right?
No, not at all. I think vocal retraining or vocal voice therapy is a better option because it's less risky, right? So just like with any surgery, there can be complications. And if patients are able to change their voice through voice therapy and voice retraining, then that's great, right? Because then they can avoid going through a surgery, they can avoid those complications.
So what does it entail when you train somebody?
So ultimately, it ranges depending on the patient, and my sessions tend to be pretty specialized to each patient because everyone's different, right? So we usually work together from anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, and that can be shorter or longer depending on the person. And then we work on a bunch of different areas. So vocal pitch, kind of that tone of your voice, your resonance, where it kind of vibrates, and then a bunch of other nonverbal factors, which also can make a big difference in kind of masculinizing or feminizing a person's voice.
Is there a fear of speaking when someone's going through a transition?
Definitely. So my patients who are outed when they talk, I think a lot of them report to me that they tend to talk way less because they know that when they talk, it will out them. Or some of my other patients, when they're working with me, it takes a little while to feel comfortable using a new voice, right? It can be a little bit daunting and scary. We work through a bunch of steps to kind of encourage them to feel more comfortable, right? So I'm not just throwing them into the water. We kind of take it slow and go step by step to try and acclimate them more to using it.
So success can be achieved and you don't necessarily have to take medications. Is that right?
Right. So a lot of trans men or non-binary people will take medication. Testosterone does a lot for a voice. So you might have heard trans masculine people or trans men talking, and you hear their voice deepen a lot when they start taking testosterone. But unfortunately, estrogen really doesn't do much for the voice. So that's kind of where I come in. And Also, trans men sometimes don't want to take testosterone or can't. So we kind of work with both trans men and trans women on voice.
What has been the reaction from patients that have worked with you?
So it's been kind of all over, a lot of people will tell me that after working with me, it's challenging, right, to change your voice, but little by little it gets easier. And then after working with me, they're often able to use that voice with other people, right? So with their family members who maybe they didn't feel comfortable talking to, maybe they answer their phone now. And a lot of my patients were just not answering the phone, right? Letting it go to voicemail because they didn't want to be outed right away. And I think that's really powerful that they're able to communicate way more now because they're more comfortable with their voice.
So what should the expectation be when someone comes in to work with you? What should they expect?
It really depends on the person. Initially, we need to have an evaluation. So they come in, meet with me. We talk kind of about them, their transition, their voice, their expectations, and their goals. Then we kind of go through a bit of an interview process to talk about vocal hygiene. What are their kind of vocal behaviors? So how much water do they drink? Do they smoke? How much do they use their voice? Then we take some measurements on the computer and kind of analyze their voice through all the different parameters. And we kind of develop a treatment plan from there of what we think is achievable. We set some goals and really just kind of see where it takes us.
Vocal health and hydration, very important. Amy Carlberg, speech therapist at Middlesex Health. They're lucky to have you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Pat.
My name is Dawn Gagliardi. I am on the Corrado Group at Coldwell Banker. I am a real estate agent and I work with both buyers and sellers. I currently live in West Hartford, Connecticut, which is actually where I grew up. I cover all of the greater Hartford area and all of Connecticut. I also have a great team of realtors and connections all throughout the country, so I can help people buy or sell a home anywhere in the country. I'm able to help my clients buy their perfect homes and sell their homes for top dollar.
I'm not going anywhere. You kidding? There's work to be done. Goats don't milk themselves, When I had cancer, people said I'd have to travel long distances for care. Not me. I'm not going anywhere.
Cancer patients are getting groundbreaking treatment at Middlesex Health and second opinions from Mayo Clinic experts close to home.
Look at that. Nice work, girls.
CREC schools are more than just a place to learn. At CREC, inclusion makes our schools' communities vibrant. As a gay employee and parent, we feel good knowing that each STEAM magnet school has a GSA and that school staff have access to the CREC LGBTQIA+ and Allies Employee Network Group. Knowing that CREC truly provides a safe space where all belong is what matters to our family. At CREC, we can be us. At CREC, we say gay. Visit choosecrec.org today.
The Connecticut Voice Honors will be held on Saturday, September 17th, and the primetime television special on WTNH will air on October 15th, with highlights and a presentation of the evening.
From where I came from as a kid and not really being accepted from my family and stuff like that, pride is just, it's huge. It's someone to kind of be yourself and not be afraid of it.
Now more on our conversation with Jeopardy champ Amy Schneider.
In Connecticut, we're very lucky. We have great laws that protect us. But I read about South Dakota and I read about Arkansas, and it just worries me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm in Oakland in the Bay Area, and it's fantastic. In that sense, I feel very fortunate to have come out in this area. This kind of bubble of tolerance and all that sort of thing.
Different from Ohio, though, right? Where you grew up.
Yeah, it's different. Although, not as much as I feared of having gone back since then. There's definitely, it's not the same, but it's not bad either. For the most part, people are just like, whatever, you are who you are. I don't care. But I was going to say too, I, for a while, kind of struggled with feelings of guilt about it, of having had such a easy time with my transition because of, I'm in the Bay Area and all this sort of thing. And I'm so aware of, trans people I know from back in Ohio, or one I know in Arkansas, or things like that. And that's been one of the great things about this experience with Jeopardy, is that I've been able to feel like I'm actually helping the cause in a way that I just sort of felt like before I'd only just been benefiting from what others had done.
I think that the thing that most people don't understand is you're still the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it did change your fame, it did change your bank account, but deep down at your heart, Amy Schneider is still Amy Schneider, and you've always been Amy, even before you got to be Amy. I think people don't understand that about. Can you explain that? Because I want those people who are not trans, who are not like you and me, to understand what it means to live your truth. Could you just give that to me in a nutshell?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think part of that I'm really is one of the things I'm hopefully exploring in this book is that sort of that thing about having always been Amy. And it's interesting to think about, because for much of my life, had you asked me, are you a boy or a girl, I would have said boy, and been 100% confident and sincere. And at the same time, now that I know what I know and I look back, I can see that I would have been wrong to answer that way. And it's almost like I think of it as like my past is like a double exposure, there's the as I lived it at the time and how I see it now kind of overlaid on top of each other. Because I do now will think of things of my childhood and be thinking, oh, I was just a little girl back then, or things like that. Even though it sure didn't look that way.
Now that you have this wonderful opportunity, what will you think you might do as far as, I don't think you're going to become an activist, but is there something you hope to do for the community?
Yeah, for now, I'm just figuring out where I want to, put some of my monetary resources. And I'm also getting, people reaching out, and I think I definitely want to do some work, at least with a local organization, and definitely anything oriented towards youth or things like that would be rewarding. I'm still, I'm trying to figure out what my life looks like and what resources I have and everything like that. But, that's definitely I've got among my many to-do lists, figuring out how I want to, who I want to contribute to and in what way is definitely on the list.
I think of the movie Steve Martin did, The Jerk, where he becomes famous and rich, and then all these people come to his mansion asking for money, and juggling cats gets the money. The guy, Mexican cat juggler. Have you ever been to Connecticut, by the way?
Yeah, I was actually just there in August. Genevieve had a bit of a family reunion there.
Genevieve's from Connecticut, or has family here?
Has family there, yeah.
Wow. Now there's something I didn't know. How wonderful. So there's a chance we might see you in Connecticut again.
Yeah, could be.
Well, our best wishes from Connecticut Voice, all of our podcast listeners, and everyone who's watching this video. We wish you the best.
You buy a house, you have a bathroom, a kitchen that needs some love.
It can be overwhelming.
Is this for you? Is this for your budget? This is the fun part. We help you get it right.
So many parts and pieces coming together at once, and that's why you need somebody who does tile all the time. At Tile America, we like to make it fun.
Tile America, amazing showrooms, insightful advice, and don't forget to check out our outlets in New Haven and West Hartford.
Hamilton, in Hartford, at the Bushnell. Tickets from $49. Get tickets at bushnell.org.
FactSet scored 100 on the Corporate Equality Index, the Human Rights Campaign Foundation's national benchmarking tool on policies and practices pertaining to LGBTQ+ employees, earning the distinction of Best Place to Work for LGBTQ equality for the 7th consecutive year. There are so many people in the world who are unable to be their authentic selves, and as a leader, I am committed to creating an environment where everyone can be authentic.
Connecticut Voice Out Loud headed to the Center for Advanced Reproductive Services in Connecticut to find out how they're making families' dreams come true every day.
Well, I always say that I feel really fortunate as having had a business degree and a business background to find a career that's really become a vocation, where every day I get to apply what I know about business to the healthcare of helping people to build families. I mean, one of the things that we really are proud of and love to be a part of are having people come in, whether they are LGBTQ or single straight people or heterosexual couples, and tell us what their vision of a family looks like, so that we can then walk through with them what viable clinical options are available to them.
Maybe there's some hesitation. There's couples out there who aren't sure. They're not sure, they're scared, they're intimidated. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that knowledge is power. And I think that it is a truthful statement that the LGBTQ community has oftentimes felt marginalized with regard to healthcare. And I can assure everyone that the Center for Advanced Reproductive Services is a very friendly place for all people. What's going to happen is they're going to sit with a doctor, and the doctor is going to ask them, what does a family look like to you? What are the important elements to you? So, for instance, if it is a lesbian couple, sometimes it's as simple as donor sperm with insemination, which is a very low-tech procedure that can happen. Other times they want to do something which we call as shared conception, where one of the female partners is providing the eggs. They're going to have a donor's sperm source, and then we're going to create embryos, and the second partner will carry the embryos. So the partner carrying does not have a genetic relationship to the embryo and the child that she will give birth to, but she has a real strong biological connection. Absolutely. So both parts of the couple feel really involved. Another recent development over the last few years is the evolution of transgender care. And we have for years treated adult transgender people, but now we're actually seeing more and more adolescents who are coming in with their parents and want information about fertility preservation as part of their journey.
How do you keep yourself present in the community?
Well, one of the things that we try to do, especially with the LGBTQ community, is go to them. And so to go to people where they're most comfortable. So to that end, we've partnered with the New Haven Pride Center. We were a sponsor of New Haven Gay Pride. And so by having a presence in those areas, we're able to get patients the information and access that they need.
That's it for this edition of Connecticut Voice Out Loud. I'm Pat Laurie. See you next time. If you'd like to learn about any of these stories or have a story idea of your own to share, visit our website at ctvoice.com and be sure to connect with us on social media.